Good morning, everyone out there, all you beautiful people. It's so good to see you all this morning. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living, Los Angeles, our digital space. Hope y'all are surviving the random heat today. I don't know what's going on. Hope you're staying hydrated, and hope you're ready to celebrate being together as friends and finding the oneness in our community. Let's kick off the service, shall we? What would you think if I sang out of tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me? Lend me your ears and I'll sing you a song, and I'll try not to sing out of key. Oh, I get by with a little help from my friends. I get high with a little help from my friends. Oh, I'm gonna try with a little help from my friends, a little help from my... What do I do when my love is away? Does it worry you to be alone? How do I feel by the end of the day? Are you sad because you're on your own? Oh, I get by with a little help from my friends. A little high with a little help from my friends. Oh, I'm gonna try with a little help from my friends. Do you need anybody? I want somebody to love. Could it be anybody? I need somebody to love. Would you believe in love at first sight? Yes, I'm certain that it happens all the time. What do you do when you turn out the light? I can't tell you, but I know it's mine. And oh, I get by with a little help from my friends. I get high with a little help from my friends. Oh, I'm gonna try with a little help from my friends. Say, do you need anybody? I need somebody to love. Could it be anybody? I want somebody to love. Oh, I get high with a little help from my friends. Gonna try with a little help from my friends. Oh, I get high with a little help from my friends. Oh, I'm gonna try with a little help from my friends. With a little help from my friends.
Good morning, James Harper.
Good morning, good morning.
What a great song to kick off the morning.
Yeah, it felt appropriate, you know?
It feels really good and get high with that energy of life itself, right?
Truth, yes.
Yeah. Do you need anybody? Well, of course we not only just need anybody, we need everybody,
Need
right?
everyone, yeah. Need the community.
We do. Well, what a pleasure to have you here today. As we kick off our Sunday, the first Sunday in October in the year 2021 in our space known as the Center for Spiritual Living, Los Angeles.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, it's so good to feel your presence, to see your face, and to see that big smile coming out of your heart and onto your face. So, happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday to you.
So everyone, let's welcome James Harper, who is our guest musical artist and director today, who will take us on a journey of wonderful music today. Got some fantastic selections chosen for us as we give the applause, as we would do that through snapping of the finger, saying a big namaste and hello to James. So James, I look forward to seeing you later on in the service.
Sounds good.
Fabulous. So, and a good morning to each and every one of you. As James referred to us as our virtual space, I welcome you all into the Center for Spiritual Living, Los Angeles, as we come together on this day to connect to that power that exists within each and every one of us, that force of life that provides to us and through us the opportunity to express it, the thing itself, the one and only mind of the divine. So if you're joining us today through Zoom, a big hello and welcome to you, as well as the various other platforms of Facebook or on our YouTube channel at a later date. Please know that right where you are and right where I am, we're in the perfect and right place to learn, to grow, to flow, to know as spirit itself, to remember into that deep place within us where we not only know, but know that we know that everything in our world is perfect and whole and complete just as we are. I know that's a very broad and big statement to take in, but that is one of the foundational components of this teaching known as the science of mind, that we're perfect and we're whole and we're complete just as we are. And our journey, on our human journey in life, is to show up and engage in that depth of knowledge, that depth of knowing, in a way that we begin to know that at the conscious level and act accordingly, and in so doing help engage in the co-creative nature of life, thus bringing forth into the field of experience, our experience in life, more and more of the inherent nature of who and what we are, which is known as perfection, wholeness, and completeness. And so I honor you today for taking the time to stop, to listen to yourself, to allow yourself to be guided on this journey that we're on as this service, this celebration service today, and to remember that within each of us is the light of the divine. And so I will kick off our service, as we do each and every Sunday morning, with some slides on the screen to help us frame our mind for this experience we're about to share. We are known as the Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles, and our vision statement is supporting individuals finding their personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening. I invite you to hear that anew today. You will hear me speak of hearing things anew today. And that is for the purpose of connecting to that place deep within us that knows that we're perfect and whole and complete. Excuse me. And so the vision statement, once again, is supporting individuals finding their personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening. Let's take a moment to honor each other and say hello to not only that power and presence of the divine that's within each of us, but within each other. That spirit that is within me salutes in spirit and honors the spirit within you. It's an act of namaste, which is a Sanskrit word, which means just that. I bow to you. I bow to the power in you that's also the power in me, that oneness of which I'll speak more of later today. And in so doing, there creates a resonance field of a greater awareness of that oneness. So let's place our hands together, taking a deep breath in as we see it on the screen, bowing forward and saying out loud together, Namaste. And then let's feel that energy, that transference of energy that is taking place through each one of us as we do that. As a community, we come together, and yes, it's in a virtual space, and we'll have to do that right now until we can do the next step of that. But we know that through this interconnectedness of life that we have the ability to honor all aspects of life. And so we welcome into this space all races, all religions, all countries of origin, all sexual orientations, all genders, all abilities, all expressions of life. For we stand with you, both literally and metaphorically, to know that you are safe in this environment, being the individualized expression of the allness of the divine, that perfection, wholeness, and completeness. Let's let the graphic on the screen, the cartoon-like characters of expressions of life, be a reminder to us of the different expressions of life in the form of how we visualize and see and experience people. But to remember that we're all one humanity. And so let's say out loud together, we welcome one and we welcome all. As a community, we've come together, as I've said before, for a little over 30 years now to teach primarily the philosophy, faith, and way of life known as the science of mind. The science of mind is a new thought teaching, meaning in the late 1800s, it came to be around the world in various different forms and formats, a philosophy of faith and way of life through different incarnations, with the very core beliefs that there's only one power that exists, there's only one mind that exists, that you and I both individualize and express and experience this mind through our thoughts and our beliefs and our emotions and our actions and our reactions and our interactions with the very thing itself. That as we do so, our engagement intentionally is to fine-tune our awareness and our acceptance and our consciousness of who and what we are as spiritual beings. And because we live in a universe that's governed by a spiritual law, or laws, if you will, that it brings back to us an experience, a reflection of how we know ourselves to be as divine beings, of expressions of this oneness. And so we have the opportunity before us to practice knowing who we are as divine beings, practice knowing that we live in a state of oneness, to practice giving of our namaste as we bow to each other in life for the purpose of making good in this life, of revealing good in this life, and putting into play the vision statement of our community, which is supporting individuals finding their personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening. And so we do that in an even further manner by a ritual that we do each and every Sunday morning called Calling in the Light. And so I begin that ritual for us this morning. As we all take a deep breath in, and I invite each of us to hear this ritual today anew, as I said I would before, bringing into mind's eye the different expressions of humanity that are all rooted in the oneness of life itself. For the purpose of this ritual is to draw into this gathering energetically, consciously, and intentionally a conscious awareness of our oneness and the qualities that we possess as complete expressions of the divine. For we perform this ceremony, this ritual, to promote the universal consciousness of life. I invite you to hear that anew, to promote the universal, infinite consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples and all faiths, all sentient beings come from the one great universal presence, which we call spirit in this teaching. And fundamental to this truth is the unifying nature of all religious thought and experience. It's which we honor here today in this ritual. And so we honor the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, that which is known as the natural way. We honor the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. We honor Hinduism, which is known as the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We also call in the light today for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light a candle today, metaphorically, for the forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. We continue this lighting of the candle, if you will, for Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness, which I will speak on later, which is also known as the path of love. We also honor all forms of Islam today. Islam, which honors the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling, as we include in this ritual the universalistic religion of Baha'i, and in so doing honoring the path of unity and of peace. We also call into light all forms of new thought, which I referenced earlier and that we practice here at the Center for Spiritual Living, Los Angeles. And in so doing, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. As we've called in the light, let's look at the candle on the screen, or candles, and look at it as the healing candle. And I ask you to take a moment as you bring into your mind's eye the flickering flame of the light. Anyone or anything or yourself that you'd like to silently put into the healing flame so that that individual or individuals or idea may experience through this awakened consciousness the eternal and everlasting love of the divine. Continuing this reality that we know that we are one family, I invite you to hear the Sanskrit proverb as an instruction for the day. For we look to this day, for it is life, the very life of life. In its brief course lies all the realities and truths of existence. The joy of growth, the splendor of action, and the glory of power. For yesterday is but a memory, and tomorrow is only a vision. But today well lived makes yesterday a memory of happiness, and every tomorrow a vision of hope. Look well, therefore, to this day. And I invite us to add to that, look well, therefore, to this moment that we call in the light. James comes onto the screen and takes us through our song, Calling in the Light. The call and response song and the lyrics are on the screen.
Calling in the light, calling in the light, calling in the light of love. Calling in the light, calling in the light, calling in the light of love. Sing with me. I am love, I am peace in my heart, I am free, I am spirit, I am soul, all together we are whole. Calling in the light, calling in the light, calling in the light of love. Calling in the light, calling in the light, calling in the light of love. Calling in the light of love. And so it is, and so it is, and so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, James.
Of course.
How beautiful. So James, the next song that you'll sing for us, which is going to bookend my message, what's the title of that song?
It's called If I Ain't Got You. And it's, on the surface, it's really just kind of a typical love song. But when I look deeper, it's really examining what we get caught up in so often versus what we should be paying attention to. So we get caught up in fortune, we get caught up in fame, we get caught up in power, we get caught up in diamond rings and materials, and what we really should be focusing on is each other and community and making these connections. And yeah, it's a really beautiful lyric, I think.
Fabulous. Thank you.
Some people live for the fortune. Some people live just for the fame. Some people live for the power, yeah. Some people live just to play the game. Some people think that the physical things define what's within. But I've been there before, and that life's a bore, so full of the superficial. Some people want it all, but I don't want nothing at all. It ain't you, baby, if I ain't got you, baby. Some people want diamond rings, and some just want everything. But everything means nothing if I ain't got you. Some people search for a fountain, promises forever young. Some people need 3 dozen roses, yeah, and that's the only way to prove you love them. Hand me a world on a silver platter, and what good would it be with no one to share, with no one who truly cares for me? Some people want it all, but I don't want nothing at all. If it ain't you, baby, if I ain't got you, baby. Some people want diamond rings, and some just want everything. But everything means nothing if I ain't got you. It did it. Some people want it all, but I don't want nothing at all. If it ain't you, baby, if I ain't got you, baby. Some people want diamond rings, some just want everything. Everything means nothing if I ain't got you, 'cause everything means nothing if I ain't got you.
Oh, how lovely.
Thank you.
Lovely, thank you. I love those lyrics, and I liked your preface to them. And I took that, not just your preface, but the song to mean not so much necessarily an individual on the other side, but the relationship with the self. If we were to look in the mirror,
Yes,
the life that's within us. So
I've covered that song for years, and even just in the last year or two, it's taken on a whole new meaning for me. So it's a pleasure to share that with y'all.
good. Well, thank you so much, James.
Thank you.
See you in a bit. What a great segue into our message this morning and the kickoff of our new theme for the month of October, which is the multidimensionality of oneness. It's a big idea. I know that's the case going in. And so this morning, my intention is to scratch the surface of this concept of the multidimensionality of oneness and begin to give us instruction and encouragement and a new way, a new thought in regards to how we show up in life and the role that we play in this experience of life itself, our own experience as to how we see life through the lens of oneness in a new way. And so I invite you to hear the message with a new set of ears, and to know that whether you're consciously aware of that or not, you are, just simply because of where you're at in mind right here, right now. I'd like to build on the foundation of this message this morning with this quote. Everything is energy. Your thought begins it, your emotion amplifies it, and your action increases the momentum. So take that in and allow yourself to feel it. Everything is energy. Your thought begins it. Your emotion amplifies it. And your action increases it. Well, what does it mean when it says your? Play on the word you, obviously. The teacher, Anandamayi Ma, a great Hindu teacher, was a guru for many, addresses this concept of the you in this way. She says, and which is my new thought for the day on the text today, is inquire, who am I? And you will find the answer. Look at a tree. From one seed arises a huge tree. From it comes numerous seeds, each one of which in its turn grows into a tree. No two fruits are alike, yet it is one life that throbs in every particle of the tree. So it's the same Atman everywhere, meaning spiritual energy. It's the same energy everywhere, and yet the paradox of no two fruits are alike. This one life force. I know I've been in this teaching since 1982, and I know that many of you have been around for a while, and some of you are relatively new to this, but just think of how many times you've heard that spiritual truth of there's only one life. Today, I invite us to act as if on so many levels we're hearing it for the first time ever. From the consciousness of where we are right now, this evolved state of awareness, that we're hearing it to you today and letting that sink in and spark something within us that brings excitement and joy and inquisitiveness as we continue to find our own personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening, to say there's only one life that bears many different fruits, you and I, and so many other expressions of life are that fruit. Remembering once again, our vision statement is to support individuals finding their personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening. A spiritual awakening is that engagement of our spiritual nature. Sadhguru says this about spiritual nature, that the essence of spirituality is to be constantly aware of the oneness of all, at the same time to celebrate the uniqueness of the individual. Seems like a big charge, right? And yet we're all up to the task, exactly where we are in mind, because we said yes to showing up today. Because everything that's unfolding in this moment is an outpicturing of the oneness that I'm talking of. And so let's remember that the essence of spirituality, the engagement of our spiritual nature, is to be constantly aware of the oneness of all, at the same time to celebrate the uniqueness of the individual. That, my dear ones, is stepping into a greater expansion of mind of the multidimensionality of the oneness of life. And then to remember that we live in a universe, as I stated in our welcoming today, that is governed by spiritual law. One of those laws, even though we say they're all one law, but we break them down into the multidimensionality of the laws, is the law of divine oneness. The law of divine oneness helps us to understand that we live in a world where everything is interconnected to everything else. Everything we do, say, think, and believe affects others and the world around us. Now that is a huge idea to take in. And yet it's what we are each yearning to understand and consciously participate in a greater, more expansive, more purposeful way every single day, every single moment of our life. Otherwise, we would not be a participant in a new thought, philosophy, faith, and way of life. We would sit back and allow doctrine to be presented to us and not question it. And yet, because we resonate with these spiritual truths, there is something deep within us that knows that there is this interconnectedness of life itself, oneness, which is not something that is a finite answer, not doctrine. It's something that we each are drawn to learn more and more and more about, to be engaged in a more progressive, a more expansive, a more evolved way as we continue on our journey. From the Chopra Center, the Deepak Chopra Center, this is written in regards to oneness, and I think it's very provocative and certainly listening to in this new way today, which is this: it's imagine the whole universe. Imagine that you are the whole universe. And remember, we've already answered that who am I? Well, I am that energy force, that Atman of life in play. So imagine that you're the whole universe and that you live in total joy and in bliss. Imagine that there's no past and there's no future, only now. Imagine no space, no time, just an unbounded eternity. Imagine endless peace, harmony, and unconditional love. Imagine no fear and equality in all things. This is oneness. Dr. Ernest Holmes defines oneness as simply God. In this article, it goes on to say, but unfortunately, we can never imagine this fully. To understand or experience anything, we need to compare it to something else, which immediately brings us into the contradiction of oneness, into duality. Oneness, by definition, is incomparable. So then, is it ever possible to know oneness? Yes, written here, but only by direct experience. When we go beyond the mind, the intellect, and the ego, we experience it. In the philosophy, faith, and way of life known as the science of mind, that is called cosmic consciousness. In Hindu, it's called Krishna consciousness. Oneness that we're speaking of here is the coming together of all of the opposites. And then to know, and oftentimes you'll hear me say this and many others, and know that we know that we know that we know, which is that place that is transcendent of the cerebral mind. It's the mind of God, the one life, expressing itself through us. It's always with us, this oneness. And it's with us as the basis and underlying essence of everything. It's nothing in itself, but holds the potential for everything. We have to go beyond the senses, beyond duality, to find oneness. Now, I know that we've all had random, unexpected glimpses of this. I know for myself I have, and I'm going to share some of those with you. And it's written here that some examples of this were watching a beautiful sunset and had that moment when you felt like you merged with the whole creation. That was the case for me in Botswana. Seeing the sunset as I was watching hippos play in a lake, and this lightning bolt moved through me. And I knew in that moment that every element of my being and that of the hippo and the light that I was experiencing and the lake and those that were with me was all this oneness. It may have been when you saw a newborn child for the first time, or maybe a puppy, or anything that had just been given birth to. And then you fell in love with the whole world. We even have expressions for these glimpses as we navigate our humanity that say, oh, it took my breath away, or time stood still. This is the oneness that we speak of. In those moments, we became one with the totality of the experience. When we return from the moment of oneness, we then find it impossible to properly express it, because by nature, we communicate through the expressiveness and the expression of these things. And so reality is just important for us to know that it just was, and know that in the deepest of the deepest of the deepest of the deepest aspects of our mind, that there really is no way, no words to describe oneness. It just is. Deepak Chopra tells us that every single thing is an aspect of one field of consciousness. And it's important to remember that the whole, this one field of consciousness, and the power, when I say and, I'm only using that for expressiveness because it's not in addition to, it's inclusive, never loses contact with its parts, for they're never lost or forgotten, because it's impossible for that to be the case. And that's impossible as well for you and I as we express this continuity, this oneness of life, to lose our connection or our parts of it, because it can't be lost. It can't be lost because it was never something that we gained. It just is something that we are. And the more that we tune our mind into it and use it consciously and purposefully, the more that we will have an experience of the thing itself, because the law of divine oneness helps us to understand that we live in a world where everything is indeed interconnected to everything else. That everything we do, say, think, and believe affects others and the entire world and universe around us. We've heard this before through the aspect of looking at modern day understandings of quantum physics. Modern quantum physics talks about a unified field of energy, which underlies and connects everything in creation. Who we are is pure consciousness or oneness, expressing itself in different forms at different times in our evolution. Let's take that in to the best of our ability in a more expansive and new way. Who we are is pure consciousness or oneness, expressing itself in different forms at different times in our evolution. And so in those moments where there seems to be, or we believe, and we may not even be aware that we believe, that separation is present, it's important for us to fine-tune our thinking that every single thing is interconnectedness, and it is the oneness. It is pure consciousness expressing and vibrating at different forms at different times in not only our evolution, but its evolution, for really there's only one evolution taking place. Pure consciousness, which is eternal and timeless, is the oneness. For we create that separation and duality. And so today, as an exercise, I want us to begin to play out and play through our mind to see where in life we experience this separateness, this duality. I'm going to give you a playback of my last 24 hours so that I can not only begin to see where I engaged in separateness or unity, to create a platform or a foundation for the next 24 hours. And 24-ish hours ago on Saturday morning, I woke up and began my life, and I invite you to play out the same thing in your life. I got up, I got out of bed, I spent a little bit of time in meditation. I opened the crate door to my beloved four-legged spiritual offspring, Sweeney. She came out and got in a separate bed, and as I drank my tea, made my tea, which had been picked by someone on the other side of the planet at a different time in life, I laid in the bed with her and cuddled her and kissed her and felt her energy and her love. Was I living in separateness or unity at that time? Whether I was consciously or not, it existed, all interconnected. Following that, I got up and exited my house to take her for her walk, and I ran into my two neighbors that were outside cackling and carrying on, and I jokingly referred to them as the neighborhood hens cackling, and they cackled and laughed and carried on, and dogs played together. Separateness or oneness? As I walked down the street, feeling the heat of the sun and seeing the trees and neighbors moving their thing, they're doing their thing, I came around the block and Sweeney met a dog she'd never met before, and they played and carried on, and that was fun until it was not fun. And some growling ensued, and I engaged with the man, and it was an interaction of two beings in different forms of our evolution of different times going about our business. Oneness or separation. Went on our morning routine of the walk while seeing cars on the street with people in those cars and hearing helicopters above and knowing there are people and life forces in there at different times and different parts of their evolution, separateness or oneness, and came upon people that I see oftentimes on our morning walk, a good morning and a hello, an engagement in this oneness of life that was expressing itself in a completely different form, probably in a different time where they're at in their life and evolution. We came across a dog that she hadn't seen in a while named Nero, and they began to play and spinning and fun's taking place in this really large dog that looks like a bear, and Nero's parents started telling me the story of her life and engaging in a situation where there was a person on the street that had been using their camera inappropriately with her, and we began to talk about that, and there was judgment that ensued, and yet did we move into separateness or oneness? Different expressions of life at different times of their evolution, and from there I came home and made more tea and went to the grocery store, and then went and met friends at an animal blessing at the Catholic Church here. There was now 20-something dogs, all doing their thing of life at different forms and times of evolution. And from there went to breakfast, and from there came home and began to work more on this message and to fine-tune it. And then my housekeeper came, and she worked, and was there separateness because there was some conflict, and then there was a healing, and then there was energy, and then there was movement, and there was laundry, and then I wanted another dog walk, and went out to dinner with friends who asked me about my message today, and we got to talk about the separateness where there was a glass wall separating us from people at another table, and yet are we really separate? Dealing with loved ones at their different times of evolution and understanding of oneness, and yet were we in a state of separateness or oneness, and came home and went to bed and got some sleep. And the question that I ask of you on your journey of your life yesterday, as I've shared a bit of mine, how was I using this energy of this interconnectedness as I engaged with life itself, the different facets and aspects and the multidimensional components of life? Was I allowing myself to just be a recipient of what came at me? Was I choosing to use my consciousness, my awareness, my oneness in a way to impact all of the different layers and elements of life that are an outpicturing of the interconnectedness of the only thing there is, the one life? We also have heard before, and I'm going to remind us, that staying in this field of quantum physics tells us that a particle vibrating due to your sound when you speak can affect a molecule inside a star at the edge of the universe instantly. This phenomenon is known as quantum entanglement. The greatest illusion of this universe is the illusion of separation. And so as I play back my 24 hours and all of the expressions of life that I came in contact with, knowing all of the sound waves that both I had emitted, my dog had emitted, people had emitted towards me, was any of it done through the lens of the awareness, of the understanding that each one of those particles not only vibrates and moves out to affect a molecule inside a star, but affects every other molecule it comes in contact with? Wrap our head around that, but mind blown. And yet, that very concept is what we're being called to understand in a greater way, and then live in purpose accordingly. The multidimensionality of oneness. The definition of multidimensional is involving several dimensions or aspects. Today, I invite each one of us to begin to think of not only the journey that we've been on, but from this moment forward to begin to incorporate into our daily activities, our conscious awakening to our finding our personal self-empowerment by being more spiritually awake as to seeing life through the lens of the movement, the energy, and how it affects everything around you. I think of my beloved four-legged spiritual offspring that as she walks before me on her walk, wiggling her butt, turning around and smiling at me, and as you just see me move on the screen, you pick up on that movement to think of all the particles of energy that's moving with each wiggle of her butt. And it's the same energy that moves when you and I wiggle our butt, or smile, or speak, or swear behind the wheel of a car when we're driving. It's the same energy that's affecting us when the wind blows into the trees. It's the same energy that affects us when we watch the news and take that in. It's the same energy that affects us when we groan or moan or praise. It's the same energy that's being used when we speak the words, "If I ain't got you, baby," the lyrics of the song that James spoke. And to understand from what perspective are we saying, "If I ain't got you"? Is it from a place of victimhood, of feeling less than in life, or using it as a metaphor to say, if I ain't got you, my awakened awareness to the oneness of life and how I'm using my power, that I'm not living my fullness. I'm not living in my potential. I'm not living awakened on my journey of finding my personal self-empowerment and stepping into a state of being a conscious evolutionist. Oneness of life. Over the next 30 days is what we're being called to tune into in a new way. I love this article that I'm going to share with us called "Oneness is the Reality, Multiplicity is the Concept." And it's written by Eric Putkonen. But it says oneness is not a concept. Duality and multiplicity are concepts. The reality is that there is no separation or otherness. Why don't I see or realize this? One might ask. And one might ask, why don't I see or realize this more than not realizing it? Simply, the answer is, it's ignorance and misunderstanding. Oneness is not recognized because it is unknown. It just simply is. And so I invite you to bring into your mind's eye a forest that's in front of you. Sits on top of a knoll, a multitude of trees, and all the leaves are of the same color, and they're different heights of trees. And as you bring that into your mind, ask yourself, and there is a particular photo that I did not share with you because I'm not doing graphics on the screen today. And I'm asking you, as you look into this vision in your mind's eye, as you imagine it, how many trees do you see in this picture? And you might say, well, I see hundreds of trees. And this would be ignorance and misunderstanding of what you see if you were looking at this particular photograph, and let's all agree that you are indeed for the purpose of this exercise. And the answer is, this is a picture of the pando in Utah. The pando is a clonal colony of an individual male quaking aspen, the type of tree. And as you look at it, once again, you see hundreds of trees. It was determined to be a single living organism by finding identical genetic markers and is assumed to have one massive underground root system. This plant is one of the largest organisms in the world and one of the oldest known living organisms by the age of the root structure. In a way, think of it as one tree with the trunk underground and the branches sticking up. This is a more modern discovery via genetics, but without this knowledge, anyone looking at this forest, the one in your mind, would say that there are thousands of trees over this 100-acre area. Some are taller than others, some have more green leaves than others, some may have bugs infesting them and appear to be dying while others appear quite healthy. Unknown to them is that they are looking at one tree. The variety of the conditions of the various trees would be apparent, and yet it's really only one organism. Variation does not equal otherness or separation. It's the same with oneness as well. We see all different people and beings and animals and plants. But what's not seen typically is how they are all one. In India, this teaching is known as Advaita, which translates to non-dual. In the West, we know it as non-duality. Non-duality or oneness is realized when the illusion of duality is seen through and the misunderstanding of otherness and separation is dispelled. The fundamental division is me and other. To help realize non-duality or oneness, I often, this person writing, recommend self-examination. This is a contemplation and observation focused on questioning this I we think and feel we are. The purpose is to shake up our identification and loosen our attachments to who we think we are. Basically, to clearly see who or what we're not. It's a process of a demolition of our identities. Today, I invite you to make a commitment to yourself to begin to see life through a new prism. The prism of oneness. The lens of the multidimensionality of the oneness of life itself. Give yourself the gift, and the gift that you're giving to yourself is the gift to others. That as we move forward from this time together today, that we begin to see all aspects of life as the trees in the pando, knowing that yet their external expression appears to be separate, appears to be different, and yet it's in these differentness and that which appears to be separate. It's just the stamp of individuality that Spirit has placed upon them, while at the same time we are all interconnected at this root ecosystem of the life of God. Ernest Holmes tells us in The Science of Mind, the way to do this is to look at life through the prism of God's love. And in that state out loud, I recognize the oneness of God as me and as you. And affirm, I have perfect vision right now. Perfect vision to see, to experience, to engage in not only love, the self-givingness of Spirit, the very energy, the very vehicle that gives us the opportunity to experience oneness in a greater degree. It's important to remember that we can spend a lifetime trying to be one with the Great Spirit, or simply focus on letting love do its thing through us and realize that we already are this life force in action. Today, as we scratch the surface of the multidimensionality of the oneness of life, I remind you that we end this message as we began. But yet we're going to see it anew as we covenant and commit with each other to choose to make a difference in this new way. And to remember that everything is energy. Our thoughts begin it, our emotions amplify it, and our action, seeing through this new prism, increases the momentum of what? Of love being present in our life. Namaste. And thank you. I'm excited to continue the journey of this topic for the month. I'm going to invite James back on the screen, who's going to sing a song for us to further this message. James, welcome back.
Hello again. So this last song that I have for y'all, I feel like really ties into the message. It's called Look for the Good in Everything. And as you said, when we look for oneness, we see good. When we look for good, we see oneness in everyone. One of my favorite lines is, we forget the superpowers that we all have. And we look for the good in everyone and celebrate our mistakes. Yeah, just really, really brings this concept of oneness into the light for me. So hope you'll enjoy. Look for the good in everything. Look for the people who will set your soul free. It always seems impossible until it's done. Look for the good in everyone. People done gone crazy. People done gone mad. People done forgot the superpowers we all have. We were born to love, not hate. We can decide our fate and look for the good in everyone. Celebrate all our mistakes if there's a silver lining. You still have to find it, find it, find it. Look for the good in everything. Look for the people who will set your soul free. It always seems impossible until it's done. Look for the good in everyone. Everyone needs sunshine. Everyone needs rain. Everyone is carrying around some kind of pain. I see who you are. You're just like me. I see you searching for a purpose, guided by a dream. See who you are, and I'm just like you. I get lost sometimes and I forget what I came here to do. I keep on trying. When it gets frightening, 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 look for the good in everything. Look for the people who will set your soul free. It always seems impossible until it's done. Look for the good in everyone. Everyone is nature. Everyone is God. Everyone is love and light and vibration. Look for the good. Look for the good. Everyone gets mad sometimes, and maybe they should. Look for the good. Look for the good. Yeah, look out for all the heroes in your neighborhood. Look for the good. Look for the good. Life would sure be sweeter if everybody would look for the good. The good. Look for the people who will set your soul free. It always seems impossible until it's done. Look for the good in everyone. Look for the good in everyone. Look for the good in everyone. Hey.
Oh, so wonderful, so beautiful, James.
It's crazy how well it fit the message too. It's like
Right on it.
we never really plan it, but it just.
I know. Well, it's planned in that mind of the oneness. That's where it's planned.
Amen.
Right? And through you and through Jason Mraz as he wrote those lyrics. So,
Indeed.
yeah, and Jason Mraz, he's definitely a practicing metaphysician. So,
Yeah, you can tell. You can really, really tell.
well, no, I know he is. So,
Cool.
yeah, cool, cool. Well, thank you. Just you touch my soul with your music there, Mr. Harper, and I know
Thank
you
you,
do with
Keith.
others as well. And I was with friends last night, and they said, "Who's your musical artist tomorrow?" And I told them, like, "Oh my God, we love him!" So it was just so fantastic. So I wanted to share that with you. So
Oh,
thank
that's amazing. It's always great to be here. Thank you.
you. All right, so everyone, so now's the time in our service that we can come together to support our community financially, and know that that is appreciated and celebrated and honored as you consciously choose to use your good in a way to propagate the good of this ministry known as the Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles. And I put on the screen the methods to do that. And if you're here joining us through Zoom and or Facebook, it's all fits for each one of us. Our website, csl-la.org. You can click on donate. You can go to the app in the App Store, Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles, and also find the donate tab on both of those modalities. There are many different ways to find out information about us and connect to the daily text and all kinds of stuff. Please feel free to use both of those resources, as well as you can mail in a check. Our address is 1200 North La Brea Avenue, West Hollywood, California, 90038, or my phone number is on the screen if you'd like to call me to do that directly. And so I'll take a moment and prepare to do that. And I'm going to invite James on the screen to take us through our conscious giving song as we each take a moment to do that, which is Love is My Decision.
Love is my decision. It's up to me to give of my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start. And once I decide to change my mind, Source will show me how. Love is my decision, right here, right now.
And so I affirm for each of us, love indeed is our decision. And so the very nature of giving is our nature. And we replicate the nature of nature as we give, knowing that the law of life, the law of divine oneness responds to us and returns that which we give multiplied abundantly. We don't give because of that. We give because we know that we are here on this planet to propagate good as a result of the interconnectedness that exists through and as each one of us. All is well. And we let it be as we say together. And so it is. Just a reminder that on this upcoming week, my Wednesday morning midweek meditations continue at 8:30 on Wednesday mornings. Please avail yourself of that wonderful opportunity to reconnect to the core of the messages that we have here at the Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles. It's via Zoom. You don't have to turn your cameras on, but you can access that and just do a 20-minute midweek pick-me-up through meditation, as well as those are all on our website and our YouTube channel for our past meditations. You'd like to go in and listen to those as well. A big thank you to James Harper this morning for sharing his light through music with us. A big thank you to Travis Smith for taking care of us technologically through our audio and visual as well. And a huge thank you to Robert Hemsley, who is our both admin assistant as well as runs Facebook for us. And so he's what's facilitated that for all of us and all of our social media stuff. A big thank you to each one of you for taking time to nurture your soul today by awakening to a greater expression of yourself and being a conscious participant here at the Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles. Just want to let you know of some upcoming things that we will, in the 1st of November, I believe it is, take a vote on our new board members that will, there are new potential board members are going to, I will send out an email to all of you to introduce you to our potential new board members. And then if you're a voting member, we'll be able to take that vote online. And so please know that that will take place and we will, that will happen and we will go from there. More info to follow up regarding that. It's time for us to reconnect in person again. We have booked that happening on October 31st. That is a Sunday. And we will gather as we did before at the same pavilion at the Roxbury Park in Beverly Hills. One new agreement around that is to please not invite outside individuals that don't know about us to this. That's an agreement that now the city of Beverly Hills has when nonprofits use this space. So we'll do that. We are going to not just gather and have a picnic. It'll be a volunteer opportunity to come together, and we haven't finalized that, but do some community project to pack together goods for homeless or the women's shelter or something. We're working on that still, but know that there will be a participatory concept of that so that we can give of our good as well as come together in community to be together. This week I'll announce the next round of classes that's going to happen. I'm working on that. And if you need a practitioner, please know that you can access that information through our website. And also, if you know of anyone that's interested in spiritual counseling, I'm upping my game on that, and I would welcome to have them referred to me. So please feel free to avail yourself or others in regards to that. Without further ado, a huge thank you to all of you. We're going to close our service today, and I want to encourage you to, as you leave here today, to use the invitation and the covenant and the commitment to see life anew and renewed through the prism of love and oneness, moving forward from this moment on. And so with that said, let's all know together that the power and the presence of life itself is within each and every one of us. It's here making itself known to us and through us. It's here. The law of divine oneness is ready and awakened to do its thing through us because that's its nature. And so consciously and purposefully and intentionally, we listen to the answer when we ask the question, who am I? And we remember that we are part of this Atma and this spiritual energy. We're fully and completely and wholly it expressed, as is every other being of light and life. As we all navigate our own different states of evolution on this journey. And so we release any need or attachment or desire for separation and trust that the integral oneness of life itself, this universal presence, exists and is doing its thing by means of us. And so we use it and magnify the very thing itself, knowing that as we emit an energy of oneness and awakenedness and isness of life, our experiences magnify this intent. For we look for the good in everything. And let it be as we say together, amen. And so it is. I'm going to bid adieu to those of you on Facebook right now, trusting and affirming for you that the blessings of that which you put into play already are returning to you, that life gets better and better and better and better and better with each thought, with each action, with each reaction, with each engagement, with each wiggle of the butt that you see and of your butt that you wiggle, knowing that the particles of the universe are being blessed by your mere conscious, purposeful existence. Have a great day. Those of you that are on Zoom will take a moment to say hello. I look forward to sharing more time with you. Peace and blessings.